Our nation has a proud history of affording protection to those fleeing government persecutions. Unfortunately, legitimate asylum seekers are being displaced by those lodging frivolous claims. My plan expedites relief for legitimate asylum seekers by screening out the meritless claims. If you have a proper claim, you will quickly be admitted. If you don't, you will promptly be returned home.
So, President Trump has unveiled the administration's plans for dealing with our immigration system. The proposal includes a prioritization of younger and highly educated immigrants, as well as a crackdown on asylum seekers. The announcement comes a week after Customs and Border Patrol released its latest immigration numbers. According to CBP, more than 100,000 individuals have been apprehended or deemed inadmissible for the fiscal year. Most of the detained migrants were family units. So, joining us for an in-depth look on the border crisis is CBP's Law Enforcement Operations Chief, Brian Hastings. He's been with the agency since 1995. Chief Hastings, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
So, Chief, please just put it into context. What does that 100,000 number mean for the CBP and for the Border Patrol agents down there? I think that it can seem almost like an overwhelming number to folks at home. What kind of pressure is that putting on you?
So these are challenges that we're seeing today that we've never seen before in the history of Border Patrol. So to date, we've seen over 530,000 arrests so far this year. And normally this time of year, we see those numbers start tapering off or decreasing, and there's no sign of any decreasing at all at this point. Numbers continue to rise.
So projections are saying that this could rise almost to, I think it will be over 1 million arrivals by the end of the year. What kind of pressure does that mean for the agency? I've seen reports that releases just have to occur almost immediately, that asylum seekers are being processed and then immediately released into the vicinity of towns like El Paso.
So those numbers and that flow, and more importantly, the demographic, it's mostly families from the Northern Triangle, Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador, and we cannot apply a consequence to the families and the unaccompanied alien children that we're seeing come into the U.S. today. And yes, it has overwhelmed our resources. We've got a lot of partner agencies that have been assisting us, but just the capacity alone, we have been forced, for the safety of our agents and the safety of those in our custody, to release processed non-criminal family units. So far this year, we've released 40,000, just the Border Patrol, and that's due to the capacity issues and the high flow and the rate of volume that we're seeing right now.
Chief, tell me about the exploitation that you're seeing of these family units and the criminal cartels' exploitation of many of these families. I've heard horrific stories of teenage girls being raped along the journey, that people are being paired with people that they barely even know and being told to falsely claim asylum. Just tell us about I think that's one of the biggest lost stories within all of this, is that many of these asylum seekers are victims, not necessarily in their home countries, but of the journey that they're put through by their superior or by their family units.
Yeah, it's a sad situation. We see children treated as a commodity, and the message, as long as the law with Flores and TVPRA is out there, the message is clear. When we interview these folks, they're telling us, we were told, bring a child and you'll be set free.
Right.
You'll be let go. And that's the message that we continue to hear today.
And that it's not that they're bringing them from somewhere close. It's almost 1,000-mile journey. Very difficult terrain, controlled by criminal drug cartels, often moved by criminal drug cartels. And I do want to get to a little bit of the specifics of these immigration plans. I know that we have not seen the text of that. You haven't seen the text of that. But Senator Lindsey Graham has a specific plan in order to address the asylum crisis. He's saying that there will be no more asylum requests at the border if you come from Central America. Would that alleviate the crisis as it currently is?
Like I said, I haven't seen the detailed plan, but anything that will assist us in making these asylum claims the proper way, or presenting yourself at a port of entry and not taking that chance and putting your children in danger or harm's way trying to cross at a place other than a legal port of entry or from the home country. So we'd certainly encourage something like that. We absolutely have to have a solution to the Flores and TVPRA issues.
And one thing I want to get at, and there's a lot of misinformation about this asylum process. A lot of people don't understand that many of these migrants have been coached in order to specifically speak certain words that will trigger protections in U.S. law. Could you speak to that a little bit? How does that process play out? In your interviews, are you seeing people recite the same thing over and over again?
We definitely hear a lot of people who have definitely been coached by either attorneys or smugglers or someone, but it's clear that they have been coached. We hear a lot of the same things, and as we said before, we're seeing a great deal of fraud, and there's concern for the kids who are being recycled and who frankly, they're a commodity, and so we have a lot of concerns with all of that.
Yeah, the commoditization is something that is really disgusting. And another thing that has been bothering me recently is that Border Patrol is being attacked as if it's some, if it's some fascist organization. I saw a video just yesterday of a Border Patrol agent who jumped into a river to save a drowning child. Could you talk about how the actions that the Border Patrol has had to take in order to safeguard the safety of so many of these children?
Yeah, so we have had 2,500 rescues this year. About 400 of those are water rescues where agents have put their own life on the line, jumped into a fast-moving current to save children or to save adults or to save those that are in distress. And that's on a daily basis. And just the sheer volume of what our agents are dealing with right now is commendable for the professionalism and the compassion of our agents. But I mean, we see time and time again where our agents risk their lives to save those that are in danger.
Is this the most dangerous time to be a Border Patrol agent?
At least that I can remember, because the family units, the families that are coming across are putting those kids in harm's way, specifically down in the Rio Grande Valley and Del Rio, but across the entire southwest border. But in those two areas, we're specifically seeing a lot of those water rescues, which are not only endanger their lives, but they endanger our agents' lives.
Tell me about the health concerns as well. I've seen, the rising numbers of mumps, of the flu, of a large number of children are being transported on a daily basis to different hospitals. I mean, for some reason, the blame seems to go to the Border Patrol, not to the people who would put their children in circumstances where they would contract such diseases. How is it dealing with that health infrastructure, and could it verge on a public crisis?
So we have increased our medical contract capability within our facilities to be able to immediately address as quickly as possible those that are coming into our custody. And we certainly, if they claim that they need medical help or they look like they need medical care, we take them to a hospital. We have seen the number of those that we're taking for secondary care or a hospital or a doctor increase substantially. Last year was around 11,000. This year it's on track to be 31,000 that we've taken to the hospital or secondary care.
That's a shocking number. Another thing I want to ask about is that the Trump administration has been talking about how one of the ways that they can combat the false asylum seekers and false family units is DNA testing. That DNA testing, is it in force across the full border? And is that occur by the Border Patrol, or is that an ICE custody? I'm just confused about this.
So ICE has been helping us based upon all the fraud that we've been seeing with the family units. ICE has embedded down in several locations on the southwest border, and they are looking at some testing and piloting, if you will, DNA, and they've already had some pretty good success with that. I'd let them talk to that, but we welcome their assistance as they have come into our facility to assist us with that.
Yeah, and we should note that just yesterday, actually, a DNA swab of somebody who illegally crossed the border was found to be a dual rapist from a 1997 case in California, and who had been deported multiple times, actually.
Well, and that's important for the public to know that all of this humanitarian action is very good action, very important, and we believe strongly in it, but it pulls away from the border security mission. When we have 40 to 60% of our personnel processing or feeding or caring for or sitting in a hospital, those are folks who are not on the border performing that primary security mission to apprehend folks like you're talking about.
Right. So overall, what do you need, Chief? What does the Border Patrol need from the United States government right now? Is it to fix Flores, TVPRA?
Yes, without a doubt, that's the two biggest things. We have to have fixes for those so we can apply a consequence to the large amount of families from primarily the Northern Triangle that we're seeing. We have to stop this so we can get our agents back on the border doing national security work.
And if I think that's a great point. What is that national security? The national security mission is focused on stopping terrorists, on stopping criminals, and instead, the current resources are being primarily used for humanitarian assistance.
That's correct. 40 to 60% of our people are doing a humanitarian mission as opposed to border security.
Do you feel that you have the support from the president that you need?
I feel that we're getting support. I think that we need to continue. I mean, we have to push forward with changing these outdated laws. I can't state that. That's critical for us. That's the biggest thing I think that's going to help us right now.
Well, Chief, thank you so much for joining me. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So next on Rising, infrastructure, bridges, power supplies, roads, all the things that we need to survive, actually. But with so many systems on the brink, Congress has decided this week to have some bipartisan solutions. Congressman Rob Woodall and Harley Rhoda explain their proposal when Rising continues.